Hello guys and welcome to my humble abode for another Classic Cakes Bake-Along on this delightful sunny Sunday. Well, hopefully it's sunny where you are. It's certainly sunny here. Today's Classic Bake-Along is going to be for Hummingbird Cake, which if you don't know is a delicious moist cake which features things like pineapples and pecan nuts and bananas. So like basically mega moist. It's absolutely delicious. Now, before I get cracking, I just want to say a massive well done to all of you who joined us for the bake-along a couple of weeks ago and baked the bundt cake, because your pictures on Instagram were really, really good. In particular, I enjoyed the photographs of Sophie Bakes Things, Dee Burnett 1, Kids Bake Cake, Lauren Mowbray and Yannicka Vane, all of whom did really, really good looking bunts and took fit pictures. So well done you, but well done all of you for baking cakes. Even if you didn't take a picture, I'm sure your cake looked fantastic. Right, let's get cracking. So the hummingbird cake, it originates from Jamaica, which might explain the pineapple and the banana and the pecan nuts, probably readily available in fresh form over there. But it was made popular by people in the southern states of the United States. So thanks guys, because this is one of those cakes that it's a bit of a rite of passage, a little bit like the lemon drizzle cake. You should all have baked this cake by now. If you like carrot cake, then you'll really, really like this one. It's a little bit sweeter though. It's just delicious. So let's get on with it. Hopefully you guys have seen the Instagram post from this week where I gave you the shopping list. So you'll have everything that you need already measured out. If you don't, however, just pause this video and go and do that. Check it out. They're all in the description box below as well. So go and get ready. But a little bit of a note about measuring things before you start. I find it really, really easy. I don't just do this for filming, guys. I actually always measure and weigh and bowl and do my mise en place before I bake cakes, just because it makes things easier. And that way I'm not kind of panicking in the middle of something really important. So I highly recommend doing that just as a general rule. But the first thing we're going to do is to grease our tins. Also, make sure that your oven is at 170 degrees C so that it's nice and hot by the time we need it. So I'm using 3 tins. They are 7-inch tins, and I'm just going to be greasing them actually. I'm not going to line them, but by all means line them as well. So I'm just using a spray grease. All right, that's nice and greasy. So the batter, this is a really simple batter. I'm not using any mixing tools. However, I am going to be whizzing something. So no mixing, yes whizzing. So I've got a big bowl here and I'm gonna start by putting 200 milliliters of vegetable oil in. And to that, I'm gonna add 3 large free-range eggs. As you know, I always use large eggs, but if you only have small eggs, I would say you could probably get away with 4 small eggs rather than 3 large ones. Just make sure that they're as organic and free range as possible, because not only is it better for the hens, it is better for your cakes. So got my eggs in there. Next, I need some bananas, and I am using mega ripe bananas. These have been in my freezer for a while, because whenever my bananas go black in my fruit bowl, I just kind of bag them up and put them in the freezer so that they're really kind of mega ripe. If you've got bananas that aren't ripe at all, you're not going to get that really punchy banana flavor, and also it's going to lose a bit of the moistness. So I've got these kind of sluggy things in my bowl here, and I'm just going to whisk them up a little bit to soften them. That smells super banana-y. It's like kind of fake banana smell, which is actually real, which is great. I've got 210 grams of bananas actually. I didn't tell you that, but that worked out as about 2 large bananas, but 210 grams is the important one you need to know. So I'm going to pop that in with my eggs, and then it's time for the pineapple. So you can use tin pineapple if you want. I think you can actually get crushed pineapple in a tin, which is obviously very convenient. The main thing is that you need 320 grams. I've actually used fresh pineapple, but I'm going to whiz it in my whizzer. I watched this video the other day of someone eating a pineapple by pulling segments out, which I just never thought was a thing that could even happen. all these years I've been chopping my pineapples and peeling them with a knife. I feel like a fool. If you've tried that, let me know in the comments box below because I want to see if it's an actual thing. Anyway, add your pineapple to your mixture. And then the last ingredient in the wet bowl is vanilla. So I've got 2 teaspoons of good quality vanilla extract. If you want to use a pod, just use a pod, that's fine. And then once it's all in, give it a good old whisk. So as I said, this is kind of a similar texture and kind of moistness to carrot cake. And a lot of you have asked me for carrot cake bakealongs. I've actually done a carrot cake video and I've put it in the playlist. So I'll put the link to the playlist at the very end of this video. So please do check that out. A lot of people also asked me for scones, and that is something I had done years ago, and it's an absolute foolproof recipe. So make sure you check out all the recipes on the classic playlist because there's quite a lot there. So this is ready, so it's now time to do our dry ingredients, and you can do what I'm doing and put your sieve directly over the bowl and sift it straight in. So I've got 250 grams of plain flour here, and I'm going to add 300 grams of caster sugar to that. And I've got 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, so that's going to really make this a deliciously lightly spiced cake. I've also got 3/4 of a teaspoon each of bicarbonate of soda and baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm just going to shuffle that through. Coolio. So before I mix this together, I'm going to chop some pecan nuts, which are the nut that goes in the Hummingbird. If you prefer to use a different kind of nut, go ahead. You don't need to ask my permission. So I've got 100 grams of pecans, and I've actually toasted them lightly in the oven, just at the same temperature that I'm baking the cake at for like 8 minutes. It doesn't take very long. You'll kind of start to smell them when they're ready. And I'm just going to chop these up quite finely. So I like to roast my pecans before putting them in, just because it brings out the flavour quite a bit. By all means don't, if that's not your thing. But I do think that roasting them just roasting any nuts really kind of makes it all a little bit richer. But these look pretty good. So let's pop them in. Whoop, and give it a good mix. So with these pecans in, it can be quite difficult to see when your batter is like lump free. Obviously it's not lump free because there's lumps of nuts in it, but just keep on whisking it until you reckon that all the flour has kind of distributed. It looks kind of funky. It's a really liquidy batter, a little bit like carrot cake again. But that is all. Whoop. All right, so let's put it into our tins. Oh, a little note about tins. If you, I'm doing a 3-layer cake, but if you want to do a 2-layer cake or a 4-layer cake, I've got some little maths sums for you. So the measurements down there are for 3 tins, 3 7-inch tins. If you have 2 7-inch tins, what you need to do is for every ingredient, divide it by 3 and times it by 2. If you have 4 layers, you want to divide it by 3 and times it by 4. It's very simple. There's probably an even simpler sum, but I'm not very good at maths, so that's how I do it. Any hoodles, let's pop it in. Okay, now if it seems a little bit uneven, don't worry, you can always scoop some out of one tin and put it in the other, like that'll do. And then we just need to bake this at 170 degrees C. Obviously our ovens are already on. This will take between 25 and 28 minutes. I would say test it at 25 with a skewer. Bear in mind though that you've got a lot of bananas and pineapples in here. So if you pull out your skewer and it's got a little bit of wet on it, I would clean it and test another bit just to make sure that that first bit wasn't just a blob of banana that you pulled out. And when it's ready, just leave it to cool completely. So pause this video now, bake them for 25 to 28 minutes, and come back when they've completely cooled down. Welcome back. Now my cakes are out the oven, hopefully yours are too, and they're completely cool now. So we can get on with making the icing. Now this icing is cream cheese icing, which is tasty, tasty, tasty. It's a really nice balance between the sweetness of this, because this is quite tangy. It is sweet too, but it's got a like tangy saltiness from the cream cheese, which is delicious. I've actually done a masterclass on cream cheese icing, so make sure you check that out. But to start with, I'm going to beat my butter and my cream cheese together. So I can't remember how much I've got. So what you're looking for is just for it to kind of all combine nice and kind of creamy. It's not going to fluff up much at all. You just want to make sure that it's really well combined and that it's all sort of one lovely creamy mass. And that looks about right. So it's now time to add the sugar. So I have sifted already 420 grams of icing sugar. I always like to put in half to start with, just to, well, this is for a couple of reasons. One is that I think it helps it make it fluffier if you do it in stages, but also it stops it from exploding in your face in a massive way by dumping all of it in at once. So my mixer is a little bit scary, so this might actually fluff up a bit. Hang on. Yep. So I do get a lot of comments about the amount of sugar that goes in cream cheese icing, and generally the amount of sugar that goes in any cake. If you want to reduce the amount of sugar that you put into cream cheese icing, by all means do, but don't forget that for some reason the sugar breaks down the cream cheese like loads and it makes it really sloppy. So part of the reason why so much sugar goes in is to stiffen it up so that it makes it be able to hold itself. Obviously you've got a heavy cake going on top of cake. If it's too thin, it's just going to kind of ooze all out the side. So you do need that structure of the sugar, but it's completely up to you. Never ask me if you can reduce the sugar. Just go ahead and try it and see if it works. I wouldn't know because my recipes are perfect. So now it's time for the other half. So just pop it in and just do the same thing. Beat it up really well, and it's starting to look really lovely and white now and really fluffy. Again, be careful with your poofy icing sugar in your face. So another thing I get asked a lot is why is my buttercream or my cream cheese icing grainy? I've beat it for hours and it's still grainy. Quite often that is the icing sugar rather than the technique you're using. I actually cover this quite extensively in my buttercream masterclass video, so you should go and check that out for more answers. But I do find that it's a brand thing rather than a technique thing. But if you make your buttercream or your cream cheese icing a day or two in advance, it actually kind of settles a little bit. The graininess will dissolve a touch. It might not be completely perfect, but it's definitely worth thinking about. And in terms of storage, I get asked this a lot as well. Buttercream just will keep at room temperature for like a week, maybe 5 days to a week. Cream cheese icing, you will want to put it in the fridge, but when you use it, it needs to be room temperature, otherwise it's going to be stiff as a board. It's going to be very unpleasant to work with. So this is looking pretty good. I'm enjoying my cream cheese icing because I get to lick my fingers. It's decorating time now, guys. So I hope you've got your cakes ready and they're cool. I am going to trim mine as usual. Not only does this make it easier in terms of balancing the top, it also means that I get to eat the top myself as a treat for all this hard work I've done. Because I'm not going to be icing the sides, I'm not going to trim the edges. I'm just going to do the top, and you can do this with whatever tool you like. I find a bread knife is good, or if you have a cake leveler, that's also really good. And just trim it off. So as you can see, I've got my layers on little bits of greaseproof paper. Not only is this making it easier to handle, it helps because I can kind of spin it around as I go. And also, when I have leveled them off, I can stack them up on top of each other with a bit of separation, so I don't sort of damage them or make them get stuck together. That'll be terrible. These are super moist, these cakes. So if you do stack them naked without any protection, they will probably stick together. So greaseproof paper, I always like to have lots of it around. Alright, that's all my 3 layers. Now grab yourself a pretty plate. If you want to do this on a turntable, you can. I'm not going to today, because why not? So, start with 1 layer. Oh, get it up, yeah, greaseproof. There we go. And make sure it goes in the middle. And then grab a nice blob, but not too big a blob of cream cheese, because it is soft icing compared to regular buttercream, so it doesn't have the structural integrity that it is required to hold lots and lots of weight. So I would say don't put too much on to start with, otherwise it could sort of ooze all out of the sides, which would not look pretty. And once you start spreading it out, you'll be able to see kind of how oozy it might become. So I'm actually using the plate a little bit like a turntable and kind of spinning it around. And it's fine to do that. Turntables really help, especially when you're icing the sides, because you're able to get a nice sort of smooth spin. But if you're not icing the sides, then this will just do just fine. And you may have noticed I'm not taking it to the very edges, because the weight of the next cake and the third cake is going to weigh down on it, so it'll help to kind of smush it even further. So I don't want to make it go too close to the edges, because I don't want it to smoosh right out. So crack on with the next layer. And we go. Ooh. Make sure it's nice and level, so give it a little wiggle. And then another blob for this layer. If you want to see more about how to decorate cakes all over and do things like crumb coats and final coats, then there is a buttercream cake masterclass in my masterclass playlist. So make sure you check that out for all the tricks. As you can see, we've got quite a lot of kind of wobbling and slipping and sliding going on. This is a mega moist cake, and cream cheese icing is quite sort of slippery. So as I go around, I'm just supporting it with my other hand, so I don't really let it slurp off to one direction. But that's ready to have the next bit put on. And if you want, you can turn it upside down, so you've got a nice flat top, but actually I quite like the rounded edges on this top of this cake, so I'm gonna just go ahead and keep it the right side up. And then on the top of your cake, you can decorate it however you want. I'm just gonna put a nice generous smothering of cream cheese icing. Don't forget to be taking pictures while you're doing it. I mean, not literally while you're doing it, because that'd be really difficult. Maybe you've got your own personal photographer to come and take pictures while you're icing with both hands. But I do really want to see how you're getting on, not just the end result, although that is mega important. Yeah, I love seeing the pictures on Instagram. So make sure you use the hashtag Cupcake Jemma Bakes, which is getting quite a lot of excitement in that hashtag. I follow it, obviously, and there is loads, there's hundreds of pictures there now, so that's pretty exciting. Okay, right. I'm keeping this really simple because I want this cake to look kind of rustic, because it is this, you know, it's just a Sunday after all, you know, we're not like trying to win competitions here. Although this would totally win a competition for flavour. So I'm just keeping it mega simple, just give a little kind of swirps. You could do whatever you wanted. If you wanted to pipe, I've got a little bit of extra cream cheese, maybe you do too. You could always do little blobs around the side to kind of give it a feature, but I think this is going to be fine. And it is it's so wobbly, so if it feels like it's slipping, just push it back over. And also, before serving, maybe pop it in the fridge just to kind of stiffen up a bit so it's not in danger, especially if you're somewhere hot or something like that. You don't want it to kind of slide off into the distance. So I reckon, I mean, look, I'm just spreading things around for no reason here. I reckon this is done. So to finish it off, I'm just going to sprinkle some chopped pecan nuts, which I have here. This is just some leftovers from the toasted ones. I need to get a better knife though, because the spread knife is not going to work, is it? Got my knife. So I'm just going to chop these up. Not quite as small as I did for the inside of the cake, because I do want this to have some kind of feature and shape to it. I mean, you could even just put whole pecans on if you want. And actually that's quite useful if you are sure how many portions you want to get out of this cake, because then you can have like a pecan nut per slice. But I just think it looks really nice to kind of sprinkle more nuts on. And I can really smell the roasty toastiness of these pecans as I chop them. I do highly recommend toasting them. It'll just make all the difference to the flavour. Right, I think we've chopped enough. So, I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle. And that is the finished hummingbird cake. Oh, it smells really, really good. And I think you're gonna love this cake. It's super fruity. You can really taste the pineapple. And if you've used nice ripe bananas, you'll really taste the bananas as well. It's really good. So if you've taken a picture, put it on Instagram using hashtag Cupcake Jemma Bake so that I can see it and so can everyone else. And we can all revel in your joyous baking. And we'll be back with another Classic Cakes Bake-Along, but not for a little while. It's going to be next month, at the end of April. So make sure you keep your eyes and ears peeled for the shopping list, which I'll put on Instagram a few days before. Also, big news in the world is that I will be doing a meet and greet on Easter Saturday. That's the 20th of April. So I'll be in the Soho shop, Crumbs and Doilies, between 11 and 3. So please come on down. If you've planned a holiday to London, drag your friends and family down. I'm sure they're gonna love it. If they don't like me, they can at least enjoy some cake. So please come and join me. I'll be there and I'm super excited to meet you. So I will see you then. But I will also see you next Thursday for a regular Cupcake Jemma video, and this is gonna be a really tasty Biscoff s'mores brownie. Get involved, guys. Bye.